This is Ibrox. Hello and welcome to your weekly edition of This is Ibrox. It's your Rangers podcast. My name's Scott Patterson. As always, you're very welcome. This is Ibrox is your Rangers podcast and brought to you by HIBS'ED Mortgages, the one-stop shop for all your mortgage and mortgage insurance needs. You can contact them as soon as you can on 01225 31888 or via email at craig.bryce@hhhmortgages.com. You can visit their company socials, all the W's, hhmortgages.com. They're available on Facebook. Treble H Mortgages. Listeners and viewers to the pod, if they mention ourselves, Craig and the guys in there will look after you very well indeed with some free mortgage advice and a review should you need it. Welcome to the pod. As I say, Scott Patterson hosting you again for the final pod prior to the international break, and we are joined by three guys from this Ibrox stable. We're joined by Jim McMillan. Hi Jim, how are you?
Very well, Scott. Good to see you again.
Good man, welcome back.
Hi.
Dylan joins us as well. Hi Dylan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Great to be back as well.
Good man. And David, who's becoming a bit of a veteran, we have to say, at the old podcast. He's been good enough to afford us his time as well. How are you, mate? All right?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good
man. So, we'll start with you, David. Big weekend at Ibrox, and I think a lot of people looked at the Hibs game, rightly so, top v second top, as a real big hitting match this weekend, and it didn't really disappoint. I thought it was an excellent game of football in the first instance. Hibs came in, I thought, had to go the first half hour, certainly.
Aye, you can't argue with that. I mean, they came, took it to us. I think we all pinpointed on the pod Nisbet would be a threat. Sure enough, that happened pretty quickly. Obviously, you made your talking point as well with that red card.
Yeah.
Probably a bit shakier from us than I'd maybe hoped for, but came out in the second half, put things right, did what we needed to do. I'm getting a bit frustrated with the lack of performance, but at the same time, performance doesn't get you 3 points. The result does, which we've got again. So I think we can say it's a good day for us. Not with its moments of worry maybe, but overall good day.
So Dylan, I'll come to you first. Obviously, Hibs took the lead at Ibrox, and I have to say I felt that from a Hibs perspective, Kevin Nisbet, really good header, looping header, finds himself in an area that he should never really get a free header in, certainly. I think from the first instance we need to stop that cross, and there's definitely a lack of communication there in the centre of the area, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you say, Kevin Ness was probably one of the best strikers in the league, and to allow him to have that much space in the box for a free header is just crazy to think. It's definitely a lack of communication between Goldson, Lundstrom, the defence in general. So it was disappointing for us to lose a goal like that, especially considering last season where it seemed that we had such a brick wall that it was very hard to penetrate us. But when the goal went in, I did worry that it's just going to be one of those days, considering our recent form as well. So this wasn't a good start for us at all. That regard.
Jim, I think Dylan raised a really good point. I think it's one of the big gripes I have as a Rangers supporter this season is probably the fact that last season we were so solid defensively that the sort of back four and the goalkeeper were effectively as reliable as you needed them to be. This season, it doesn't seem to have really been going that way for them, does it?
No, it definitely doesn't. Again, the back four's been quite unsettled as well. Since pre-season, pretty much, there's not really been. I can't remember two teams playing back to back with the same back four. And it's a bit unsettled. I don't know what it is. Again, comes back to this whole argument: can they play in front of a crowd and everything else? And I don't know. I really don't know why they're unsettled. But it's a bit of a mystery. But it's the same back four pretty much we played all last season, when at different times, obviously, but they were solid, as you were saying, and it just seems to be a bit misshaped at times a lot, and it's costing us. It's unfortunately we can say it's not really cost us domestically yet, but obviously in Europe you've seen it, but I can't really pinpoint what's really going on, but something that's a bit alarming.
So just sticking with you, Jim, I think one of the things that got with me, as I say, stop the cross in the first instance. Great believer in that, albeit it's a good cross. So Barisic in the first instance has to do that. He must stop the cross coming over, albeit it's a good deliveries from Cadden. I'm a stickler for if the ball drops into that area on or around the 6-yard line. I always think that your goalkeeper has to come and claim the ball.
Definitely.
And I don't know if McGregor just felt there was too many bodies to come and try and claim the ball, or indeed if he felt one of Balogun, Goldson or Lundstrom should probably have dealt with it against a guy who I would suggest is smaller than each of those guys.
There was three of them. As I say, three of them in this bit there. And, as you say, it's really down to the goalkeeper, right? I just come out and smash it, come out, collect the ball, just take out everybody there. That's pretty much what I'd have expected from a Rangers goalkeeper, just to come out and collect the ball.
Yeah.
If he's not trusting his defence to deal with it, he needs to come out and just. You've seen it before, just take catch a ball, just take anybody out that's in front of him, and I don't know what's going on with that.
I think in the first instance, David, what you're looking for, maybe for your goalkeeper to do, and anyone who knows I'm a huge fan of Alan McGregor, and this isn't a criticism, but I think at that point you are probably looking for your goalkeeper to come out and claim the ball and just settle things. It was almost the first attack of the game.
Aye, 100%. I mean, the box wasn't that crowded, I didn't think, or certainly not with Hibs players.
Yeah.
Okay, you can sort of debate about the three we had there, and maybe one of them should have dealt with it, but I'm pretty sure it was only Nisbet inside the 6-yard box.
Yeah.
100% McGregor's got to come for that. And, I think you have to ask why. Why didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all well and good saying trust your defence, but for me that's your bread and butter. We're not talking the penalty spot. He's not having to sprint out and grab it. It's literally there in front of him. He is best placed to take that, and apart from anything else, he can then recycle it quickly, get an attack going, rather than if one of the defenders had caught it, I did knock it out the box, but it's not going much further than the 18-yard box.
Yeah.
So, I think for a couple of reasons he should have taken it. One of the things that did strike me, just as we were talking sort of through that, is for me personally, I'm sure you guys will agree, or at least I hope you will, but last season was characterised by a really, really high press. We were on them as soon as they came anywhere near the halfway line. Now, we just seem to have stopped doing that this season. But what that did is it forced teams to play stupid long balls. It forced them to play really quick balls that wouldn't have had the same accuracy. And that in turn would have prevented them even getting into that sort of situation where your man's got enough time just to sling in a wee pinpoint cross for Nisbet to tuck away. So, to an extent, I blame the defence. They should have cleared it. But I think, as a team, we're probably not defending as well as what we did last year.
Dylan, I think David's absolutely right. And I think playing devil's advocate a little bit, I think it's almost easy to say to Alan McGregor, okay, that ball's 6 yards for your line. I expect you to come and claim it. However, I think when you've got two centre halves of good pedigree, you could argue how well they're playing this season, and John Lundstrom, one of them really has to sort of put their cock in the block and take responsibility and take control of the ball.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at Lundstrom, he was playing in the Premiership this time last year. Goldson again, he's been here long enough that he's considered a team leader. Balogun, he sort of experienced enough as a Rangers defender. So I think, maybe why they play could just go around the defence, to be honest, instead of like a specific person. Well, McGregor, since bringing that up, boy, could have went out for the ball, but again, as you said, if maybe that Barstead is dropping, like, close down the cross at first instance, or if there was clear communication between Balogun, Goldson and Lundstrom about who's going to mark Nisbet, then we wouldn't be 1-0 down at that point. So
Yeah.
I think in that regard, the blame could really go around everyone at that point. Just a collection of errors, unfortunately.
So we're going to come back on the pod to John Ludstrom as the pod develops. For a sake of a statement, we have to say at the moment he is playing out of his skin.
Yeah.
David, one thing I want to come to you on now, though, as you sort of brought it up and led with it, we're recording this on Monday night, so we now know that Hibs have had the audacity and I think it's a wee bit frivolous in the least to appeal against the Ryan Porteous red card. David, I have to put my hands up and I say I think the boy's a relatively decent defender. He's been sort of involved in the international setup and he's been involved with Hibs now for a couple of seasons. However, in each of these seasons, he continues to have these dodgy moments, these one-offs, almost 3 seasons in a row now. All against Rangers. So I've seen footage today of tackles he's made against Koulibaly previously, Barisic. He's had the ongoing feud with Morales. Morelos, rather. Don't know where that came from.
Ali McCoist moment.
I know it was one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then, of course, yesterday, we have this extremely rash challenge that we can only really be thankful that Joe Aribo's leg isn't planted in the ground.
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't think he is a bad defender. Like you say, you know, he's been a boot, he's been involved, he can defend. I think for me, the bigger question to Hibs fans, you know, they're all giving it large about how it's some conspiracy to help Rangers and all the rest of it. The question for me is, why does he keep putting himself in that position?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he keeps doing it. Like you said, that isn't a one-off. He does it all the bloody time. And sooner or later, he is going to end up ending someone's season off the back of it. And, you know, you can't make that defence for him that it's out of character, because it isn't. I mean, like in Aribo's case, for example, one of the takes I've seen is there wasn't any contact with Aribo. Well, no, there wasn't, because Aribo jumped out the way. But if he hadn't, like you said, if he planted his foot, we'd be talking a whole different story here.
100%.
And, I mean, like we said at the start, you know, I've done another one I've seen, so the rules are too strict. Well, we're not going backwards. You know, football in this day and age isn't going backwards. We're not going back to 50 years ago where you could 2-foot someone and be told it was a good tackle. So, you know, these guys are pros. They know the rules. They know what's expected of them. In his case, he's been sanctioned for it before. So, you know, surely he's got to realise, I can't keep doing this. And for me, that's the question that Hibs should be asking. Not why the ref gave a red when he could have booked him or whatever. It's why does the lad keep doing it?
Jim, I think over the course of sort of last night and during the day today, we've heard many experts, and I use the word really, really, really loosely, comment on how the laws need changed and how it was almost misunderstood. So you've had Michael Stewart come out and almost defend him. I think he has defended him to a certain extent. I understand that. But Tam McManus, and we've also had Graham Spears make a comment on it. It's always good to hear from him when he talks about Rangers stuff, because it gives us content.
Team, eh?
It is, it absolutely is. 3 amigos. I don't think there's any doubt that it was a red, but this guy definitely has previous when he plays against Rangers, and I think it's something that the SFA are going to need to look really quite strongly at in this case, regardless of whether Hibs have appealed or not. The boy clearly has a problem.
I agree with you, that's 3 guys. I wouldn't fancy having a pint with either. But no, definitely. The rules are there. The rules are there. And, you can't go in with tackles like that. As you say, we've all agreed, it's going to be a case where you're going to get somebody injured, and they're either out for the season or out, ends their career. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Seen it happen many a time. Seen it with Gerrard. It's happened to him.
Yep.
But as I say, you've got to. You can't go into tackles. I know they're talking. Same people are talking about Lindstrom's tackle. Lindstrom won the ball.
Yeah,
he wouldn't.
100%.
He didn't jump in.
No,
he might have jumped in with 2 feet, but he jumped in knowing where the ball was, won the ball.
Yeah.
Do you know what, folk? Can I just jump in there a minute, Jim? See, for me,
Aye.
right, it's not even about winning the ball, right? I keep seeing these stills, and I'm with you, like, it's totally ridiculous comparison. But Lundstrom's eyes off the deck, but his feet are going towards the ground, the studs are down, his legs bent. You know, it's a totally different tackle.
Right.
They just aren't comparable at all.
It's,
Sorry, I get quite wound
no.
up about this.
No, quite right.
I should probably let someone else say a turn.
No, quite rightly so. No, I agree 100%, because it's, as you say, he's got previous, and it always seems to be against Rangers, and he says, well, he's always been sent off against Rangers, never been sent off against anybody else. We did get sent off against Kilmarnock, and then that just kind of pipes people down a bit. But
yeah,
he's I think it's really down to Jack Ross. Jack Ross, after the game, said he can see why the referee would have gave a red card, and it's quite obvious why he would have gave a red card, because you can't fly into tackles like that. But he nearly needs to sit him down and say, oh, you need to get a grip of yourself. You're not going to be in this team for much longer, or even at international level if that's far you want to go. But
yeah,
he just can't do it. He can't excuse it. There's no.
Dylan, it's interesting to hear Jim refer to Jack Ross, who said post-match that he can see why the referee has almost sent him off, which really, for me, makes tonight's news that they've appealed it all the more bizarre.
Mm-hmm. I just don't get it, honestly. I feel like, even though seeing like ex-footballers on Twitter saying that if that tackle gone any other way, then he would have broken his leg. So
yeah,
I just don't really get where this argument's coming from. I mean, I'll admit at first I didn't see much of that, but see when you can like slow it down, see from different angles, you see that the studs were up.
Yeah,
and you know he was just going through the man instead of for the ball, and you know, as the guys have said, he's going to end up really seriously injuring someone in a week, and the fact that we still have people like defending tackle, like that's the way it's supposed to be done in Scottish football. I mean, unfortunately, maybe get it done in Scottish football, but if you see it in the European football, that's red card any other day of the week. So again,
that's the same folk that moan about the TV deal down south as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually quite glad that he got a straight red card for that, because I think hopefully that'll set the mark with him for the future, that tackles like that will be tolerated. But again, just don't really get what all the hassles, but to be honest.
So we got him 1-0 up at 1-0 down rather at half time. I apologise. David, I just wonder, taking into account our form so far in the season, I just wonder how confident you were about us turning that around in the manner we went on to do in the second half.
Wow, make me shame myself. I'll be honest, I knew we could do it, but I wasn't confident that we would. And it kind of hurts to say that, especially off the back of last season. There's a boy I follow on Twitter, actually, that was talking about how shite Rangers were, and saying about Mike Beale. And Mike Beale actually called him out on it.
I did. I seen that. I seen that. Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, almost fear to have an opinion. But no, I mean, I don't think any of us can say our form's been amazing. You know, last season you'd have probably been 99% confident we'd have sat and dug that out with 10 men, whereas not so much so far this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, time to go. But no, I wasn't confident we would. I was confident we could, absolutely. You know, man advantage. I still think we've got better players, regardless of form.
Yeah.
You know, the simple fact is those players did what they did last season, and they haven't just become terrible overnight. So the ability's all there. It's just translating that into actual performance on the pitch.
Dylan, Stephen Gerrard spoke post-match about how important the substitutions were in the game, and just the general way that they assisted. Kemar Roof gets the first of the two goals. Really good header, great movement at the back post, and the delivery from Nathan Patterson was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought okay, it's a good combination. I mean, Nathan Patterson, I saw, had a brilliant game. I've seen a lot of made about Tavernier getting rested, but I think the fact that you can chuck Patterson in and he could just fit that role so well is credit to him. I felt that, watching the highlights, that most of the attacking play kind of came from his side and from his crosses. So it was a brilliant ball. And also it was like brilliant movement from Roof as well. I mean, watching the goal back, you just see like he knew exactly what to do and he knew what space to get into for that header. And I think if I was a Hibs fan, I'd be gutted with that just by the amount of space I would have had. But as a Rangers fan, it was just a really, really nice goal to watch.
Jim, I want to just study on the performance of Nathan Patterson for a second. There's been lots of sort of tub thumping for him to come in and get his chance at right back. I thought he took it yesterday. He looked a little bit rusty in the first half, but I thought the second half he was excellent for us.
No, I was going to agree with you there, Scott. We'll make sure it's Nathan Patterson. I'm saying it's playing right back, no Scott Patterson this time. No, I agree with you. The first half, he looked a bit. He's not the Nathan Patterson I've seen of last season and the games he's had a chance to play in. But he came into his own in the second half, as you say. He set up the goal for Roof. He was obviously a bit different in the second half because Hibs weren't coming as forward as much. So he had a bit more freedom to go down the right hand side and get some crosses in and link up with Hadji. And I can kind of agree. Obviously, I agree. His first half performance wasn't the best, but second half he's had a kick up the arse and he's got on me, and he's been able to show what his potential is going forward for us. So I was quite happy to see second half performance and get that assist as well. So I'm quite happy with that.
David, John Lundstrom, I would say now is in a real rich vein of form. Now, if you had told me after the Alishkert game that we would be praising him to the extent where we actually think he could be playing ahead of Stephen Davis, maybe week on, week off, it's a remarkable turn in, I don't necessarily think form. I think he's got up to speed with the expectancy of us as support. He's began to understand where he is and the size of the place that he's at. But I think the big thing for me is that you're seeing a player who is far more comfortable playing in the centre of the midfield three as opposed to being expected to do box to box either side.
Aye. I mean, for me, I don't want to say I've always been a fan of Lundstrom, but I've always thought there was something there.
Yeah.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find a Rangers fan after Alishkert that was saying nice things about him, to be fair. But in answer to your question, no, I didn't expect this. I always thought there was a player there. I thought he'd come in, he'd do a job. The fact that, as you say, there's an argument that he could be staking a claim to Stephen Davis's place, nah, I wouldn't have seen that coming. I know we did a pod, it's probably 2-3 weeks ago now, and we were speaking to Patrick, and he was saying how, he thought he would play in that further forward position, almost a number 8 rather than a 6, but nah, I mean, fair play to the guy, I think he's really come into his own in that game. And the other thing, we're saying that he's up to speed now. He might be compared to the rest of the team, but he's only been here a couple of months.
Yeah.
There's still more potential kind of growth as he becomes more attuned to the players around him, the system that the manager plays. Because, I mean, it's easy for us to sit here and say, right, yeah, they do a high press and they do this and they do that. It took Gerrard himself a couple of years to bed that into the team properly. So potentially with Lundstrom, we still have more to go, which is actually kind of exciting. I'm not going to lie. Picked the guy up for free, thought he'd be a sort of bit part player. So if he can do that, it's a cracking piece of business.
Dylan, I think you look at Lundstrom got a tough time, and we've spoke about it in the pod before. The Alishkert sending off. He was also involved in the sort of goal that Jamie Robson went on and scored for Dundee United. So he's been involved in things that have contributed to moments that have went against us in games. However, he won't be the first guy that's maybe started at Rangers slow and has then went on to have a relatively decent career. I wonder if he is now considered as one of the main leaders in the team now, considering how well he's playing. There's definitely a confidence that's appeared about him that definitely wasn't there when he arrived in the summer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the thing to remember as well is that he came from Sheffield United, which, no disrespect to them, they are a big club, decent sized club, but the expectations at Sheffield United are much different than the expectations at Rangers. So
Yeah, agreed.
he went all the way from having Sheffield United had a really bad season in Premiership from going there to going to basic champions of Scotland. So there's always going to be a big jump off there, and he would have to have like a time to get used to that. And as you say, he's not the first player that's came to our club and struggled. I mean, you just have a look at Barisic. I was convinced that after his first season that he was done, that he would just go in the summer, and then look how he managed to revitalise his career at Rangers. So yeah, I think Winston does have all the characteristics to be a leader in the squad. He definitely has the physicality to play in the league. Seems to have like the technical ability as well. So, and yeah, I mean, I'm not always been his biggest fan, but I'll hold my hands up and say that he has been playing well in recent weeks. Even so, more so that now at the point where I'm quite comfortable with him playing ahead Stephen Davies in certain matches.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can. I mean, obviously touch wood that he keeps up the good form. He can. I think he can get better from here.
Jim, Dylan quite rightly refers to Barisic and how he struggled, and I remember him scoring a free kick at St Mirren, and it really sort of changed his Rangers career. Indeed, it was Barisic who of course crossed the goal for Morelos to score what would go on to be the winner. What a delivery it was by the boy.
He threw a couple of crosses in the first half as well. And you quite rightly say, since that St Mirren game, that changed his Rangers career about. But his crossing is second to run. There's nobody else in the league that even
Tav included.
I think he's better than Tav. Obviously left-sided, but he's better than Tav. I think with his delivery.
Yeah.
He's definitely better than Tav with his delivery. And but what a cross! What can you say there? It's the wee man's 99th goal. I think we'll touch on.
Absolutely. So it was great.
Brilliant.
Do you mind back where Barisic, when we actually played them and he played in the headband? And it was someone played a long ball. Was it Aussie Jack, wasn't it?
Yeah.
One of their lot played a long ball up to him on the wing, and he hit it on the volley, and it was pinpoint. And then as soon as I heard we were citing him, I was like, oh yes, that guy's mental.
Yeah.
So, there's no doubt in the quality of his delivery at all.
Croatian left back, you know what I mean? He's the Croatian number one choice left back. There's no doubt.
Don't fall into that by accident.
No, you don't. And I mean, I think he occasionally struggles with form. And you only need to look at him when he did arrive. He was clearly a guy that had to get into the way of things and just understand the enormity of where he was. Very similar, I would argue, to what John Lundstrom is now finding and becoming a bit more settled with. Dave, I'm going to come to you next. Huge game, huge 3 points. Keeps us certainly top of the league, and moves us a couple of places ahead of Hibs and Hearts, who are in between us, and 4th and 5th, and whoever comes beneath that, to be perfectly honest.
Now you've got to click see more to see them.
Absolutely. What I would say is that if there was any doubt as to how big a game that was, you only had to look at the post-match reaction on the pitch from the players. So I single out from a playing perspective. You look at Nathan Patterson's reaction, he was every Rangers fan on that pitch celebrating. You look at Morelos, the importance of his scoring, albeit his coupon didn't suggest he was that pleased about it. I've seen some very, very funny images of that today, I have to say. But I think latterly, and you can cover these, David, in any order you like, Steven Gerrard was as animated at Ibrox celebrating a win as I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. So I suppose Morelos is the obvious one. He never looks happy, except when his missus has got him some balloons. But you know what? Every so often you see that cheeky wee grin in a training photo or something. You're like, aye, he's fine. He likes it. He's happy. Patterson, it's a bit like Halliday. You know, he's living the dream. But, and I mean, I liked Halliday, a lot of heart for us, but you know, we've kind of moved past that ability-wise, whereas I think with Patterson, he's got all the ability plus some.
Yeah.
You know, he's not got to worry about if he's going to get a game once he comes of age and, you know, once inevitably kind of goes beyond Tav, which I'm sure will happen at some point as long as we keep him. Just with Tav being older, you know, Patterson's obviously going to get a chance, and I think he'll be a stalwart in this team if he stays. I really do. Gerrard, I'll be honest, I've only ever seen him once like that as a manager. Not at Ibrox, but at Celtic Park.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, then it was down to significance because we'd beaten them on their own patch for the first time. I think there might be an element of that in this, not beating them on our patch because, you know, obviously we have done that. But despite what they say, they all read the papers, they all see the news. You know, even the press conference the other day, and he was getting asked about, you know, basically why are Rangers so shite. All right, he fired back and he said, yeah, we're getting the results. And yeah, he was right. You know, we are top of the league. Nobody can dispute that. But it's not because of our blistering form. Let's be honest here. You know, we've dug out results when we've need to, but I think all of us have had a moment of panic. And I just wonder if there's an element of that kind of relief in there. You know, just last week he'd been saying about how we were top of the league. Potentially that would have meant we weren't top of the league anymore. It's another poor first half. So to then turn it around like we did, come out firing, get the 2 goals, get the win, get the points, I think it's just going to be an outpouring of emotion, to be honest. I really do. And well deserved.
Dylan, I think David's right. There was definitely elements of Gerrard releasing almost a get it right up here moment, not to the support and not to each stand, of course not, but there can be no denying that he has taken stick in recent weeks, and he has taken stick in press conferences from some of the guys in the media. I just think that his reaction at the weekend was really quite telling, because I think there was murmurs that maybe some of these players had down tools and they had done what they had to do last season, and they were quite content to go through the motions. And I think, just my opinion, but I think Steven Gerrard really sort of laid down a marker at the weekend for what we expect when the guys come back from the international break in a week or so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is probably the roughest patch since not last season, but the season before we got called off. You know,
Yeah.
so I think it is a big relief for him, because I mean, listen, we haven't played well, and there's parts in the Hibs game where we didn't play well at all. But
yeah,
I think it kind of goes back to old saying that champions find a way to win, and again, that's what Rangers did. And albeit Hibs were down to 10 men, you know, we still had to create a good chance, get to do goals and win the game. And the fact that, you know, even though everyone's saying that we were playing really bad, we were still top of the league at the moment. By 1 point, we're still 6 points ahead of them. You know, and that's quite massive, and it's really massive going into the international break as well. And you know, I just think Gerrard just gets it. You know, he's just you could just tell that he just gets the club. He just gets like what the result means to us. Because I mean, if we had lost that game to Hibs, or even true, then you know, big question would be asked not just by the media or our supporters, but also like our own supporters as well. So for him to get that win, you know, it must have meant it must be like a big relief for him.
Jim, I one of the things that really struck a chord with me at the weekend was the importance of people like Hadji who I hasn't probably sort of started the season as well as what he would have liked. But I think yesterday we saw real glimpses of what he offers when he's not on the ball, looking for space, creating space for others. And I think you spoke about it yourself. Yanis Hadji and Nathan Patterson had a bit of a field day down the right-hand side at parts of that second half.
Definitely. Hadji, again, I've sort of noticed a lot with Hadji as well this season. He seems to be more animated. He seems to be more, if something goes against him, like gets a foul, he seems to be a bit more...
He's grew up a wee bit.
He's kind of getting a bit more aggressive towards things, and I quite like that. I like that way about him. I like he shows he's caring. He wants to. He's there to play for the jersey, and he wants to do everything right for the team.
Yeah.
And but he's came on leaps and bounds for when we took him on loan and then with Bolton, and he just seems to have grown into that number 10 sort of position. It's brilliant to see.
Yeah.
He links up well with the players around about him, and I think we're a totally different team when we've got Hadji and an on-form Hadji. As you say, he drags defenders away from the ball and makes his spaces, and it makes. You never know what he's going to do. Some of the times he doesn't know if he's left foot or right foot. You don't know what he's going to do next week. But he's definitely. Hopefully see him he's been as good as his old man. But let's see how he goes. But he's definitely grown into that position. And as long as we keep him fit, and because he had some injury problems last season, if we keep him fit, he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet. Because you never know. You never know with Gerrard these days and COVID and everything else. You don't know who's going to be on the team sheet. But hopefully he's a brilliant player. And he goes to show me a playing. He's on form. The team seems to be on form. And Dylan stole my thunder there. We seem to grind results out, but that's what champions do. I think with champions, they sure they've got to be a winning game. So long way to continue.
I often think, a lot of our fans complaining about the form, and here I'm not delighted with it either, but I mean, do some of them remember some of the games under Walter Smith in Europe?
Yeah.
Jesus, they weren't pretty.
That's the thing, Dave. Nobody's ever going to remember how you win a game as long as you win it.
That's it. It's about getting the job done at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately what you're looking for at the end of a game is 3 points, and of course, I mean, David, I don't want to say about you saying about what I'm going to give teams a doing. I'm trying hard not to mention that, but I'm going to continue to do it. There's no doubt that you still get 3 points. The 1-0 or 8-0, you're still going to get 3 points, and it'll be 3 points that'll take you closer towards winning the league, hopefully, at the end of the season. David, I want to speak to you about Alfredo Morelos. If someone had said to me over the last couple of transfer windows, summer, January, that guy would be around to get 100 goals for Rangers, I would have absolutely taken that opportunity now, and he's going to get 100 goals for Rangers despite the rumours and the conjecture as to whether he's staying, going, whether he wants to stay or go, or this team or that team are in for him and his agent's talking to them, that, and whoever else. I think we should really be basking in the glory that we've got someone like Alfredo Morelos who's about to notch his 100th goal for the club. What a remarkable signing he's been, and we're really lucky to have a striker like him at the club.
I mean, he's a goal off 100. Worth remembering as well, he's our top European scorer.
Yeah.
So,
and you need to hope that record gets better as well, with all things being equal. Fingers crossed.
That's it. I suppose the other thing that makes me laugh a bit about Morelos is he was actually bought in by Pedro as a backup to Herrera.
Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Incredible.
So when you think of that, the fact we signed him for $1 million, and then you see kind of what he's gone on to do with us, it's pretty incredible. I think it's really hard sometimes to separate the wheat from the chaff when it comes to transfer stories. I mean, we've all seen it. He's linked with this club, or he's linked with that club, and he's going here, he's going there.
Yeah.
And the media seem to have a bit of a habit of turning what he said a wee bit sometimes, I think, because, I mean, Morelos has never made it a secret. He wants to go on. He wants to play, potentially in England, but certainly a top 5 league.
Yeah.
And that automatically seems to be spun to, he wants out of Rangers. I don't think I've ever seen him actually come out and say that. If you look for the quotes rather than the sort of headline that they want to throw at you, I don't think I've ever seen him say he wants to leave us. He said eventually he wants to move on. Aye, so be it. Football's a short career. We've more than had our money's worth out of him, and he's going to want to make himself a payday. So I totally get that. Plus, he want to test himself against the best. But I mean, again, Gerrard's been pretty clear. Unless the right offer comes in for him, he's staying. He keeps signing new contracts, so he's not leaving for free. So, I think the club are in quite a good position here. And despite his naysayers, he is a bloody good player.
I don't think, Dylan, that I've ever bought that Alfredo Morelos at any point has wanted to leave Rangers. I just don't think it's something that I think every time you see him and he scores, and listen, we all know, as David rightly says, there'll be a wee smile and everything's okay, but until then he's maybe looking a bit glum even after he scores, and that's just the way of it. But he quite clearly loves the support. He loves the adulation he gets. He loves playing for the football club. There's been nothing that I've seen that makes me think that Alfredo wants to play anywhere else. Nothing at all.
Yeah, and I think the thing to remember as well is he's not really being a hash for us. You never really see any bad behaviour around the training or around the club at all. Seems to he's just such a good player, such a good person as well. It seems by his charity work, and you could just tell that just like Gerrard, he just gets the club. He just totally gets what it means. Means to us. I mean, if you told me about when he first sold up that he was going to get nearly 100 goals for us, I wouldn't believe you. I for some reason just had in my head that he's just going to flop this because of the mood around the club at the time, around Pedro. But he's proved to be a fantastic signing, and wherever he goes, he's going to make us a healthy profit as well. And I have no doubt that he'll one day play in a top 5 league and hopefully lead the line for Colombia at a major tournament soon enough.
Jim, sorry, David.
I was going to say, I think Johansson deserves a lot of kudos there.
Absolutely.
He's the one that linked it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think by all accounts, I think JJ was the one who kind of brought him to the attention of whoever was looking after the administration, football administration side of things back in those days. Jim, I would suggest he's the best striker we've had at the club since Jelic. And I wonder, and we never spoke about this off air, so this is taking you by surprise, and I wanted to give you a hard question because David gets it in the week pretty much every time he's on. If you had the opportunity to pick Jelic in his plum or Morelos now, who would you pick?
Good question. I'd say Morelos. He scored more goals than Jelic, so definitely Morelos. But a brilliant question. No, but I agree with the boys, and he's for £1 million. No, it's a steal.
It really is.
It's just I'll take them both, and we'll pay him in EBTs. That's sort of the difference.
Allegedly.
Aye. You seen him yesterday as well. You even watching the game, he was playing it right back. At some point, the only thing that frustrates me about Alfredo, I know he plays for the team, but he's for a goal scorer, he's never in position apart from when he scored yesterday. Yeah. He always seems to be out in the wide. He's too deep at times, but what can you say him about that return? He's definitely going to hit 100 goals, and I think it's 198 games or something he's played. He scored 99 goals.
It's ridiculous.
An amazing return.
Aye. His form has been, since he's been introduced into the first team squad and been given regularity of football, his record is incredible. I don't care what anyone says. And I know there's going to be people who are going to point to various bits and pieces as far as discipline's concerned, and I think he would admit himself that there's been discipline incidents that have maybe he's let himself down a little bit, and the manager's been quick enough to pick him up on that. However, Alfredo Morelos' main job is to score goals, and you cannot criticise him for being at 99 goals consistently been linked with wanting to be somewhere else. He's just kept his eyes on the prize, and he's going to get 100 goals before the end of this year. It's incredible.
So
Jim, see how you were saying about his positioning. Do you think that's a symptom of this season in our form?
It might be, because I don't think. I know we keep going on about it. It was 2 great crosses yesterday that got his goals, but I think the supply, you've got Morelos up front, Roof up front from time to time, so chopping and changing. I think the frustrating thing is that he's not getting the supply that he got last season, which has caused him to drop deeper. And I think that's what's getting him a bit frustrated, because by now he's probably scored about 10 goals by now.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to say that, but it's. But I think that's what he is. I think he gets frustrated. He has to come back, and then, but at least he's doing it for the team. He doesn't get himself annoyed, and he doesn't see him get him down in any way. You see him he just carries on. But I think it's to do with the fact that they're not supplying him enough, and that's why he's dropping deeper and putting right back sometimes.
I think that's a great point. And David, Gavin Kelly brought it up with us in our group chat that everyone has when they're working. I think that if you're smart enough to give guys like Roof and Morelos chances, i.e. coming for the side or the 3 guys across the midfield, if you're smart enough to get these guys in, they will score. Give them the opportunities, and they are going to score.
Oh, aye. I think you can see that across both of them in their time here, you know. Yeah. Again, look at last season. As Jim said, how many goals Morelos had by this point last season, you know?
Aye, absolutely.
It's, I mean, they're both quality finishers. Maybe Alfie could score more that he hits a push, but, you know, he's still pretty clinical in the grand scheme of things. And, yeah, I think the balls have been going in, but they've just not been the same quality. As you guys have said, it was 2 kind of real precision crosses that laid on those goals.
Absolutely.
And there's too many times this season we haven't been seeing that.
Yeah.
We've just seen it, you know, getting needlessly humped in the middle of the box somewhere, or
launch it,
you know, played over the top. And don't get me wrong, it's great to have that bit of variation, but you know, sometimes you need that quality. And when you deliver, these guys stand up.
Dylan, does the international break come for us now at a good time or a not so good time?
That's a tough question, isn't it? I mean, I think if you said to me an international break after the Old Firm, then I would say it would have been a good chance for it again. We've not picked up since then, so you know, it's quite hard because, you know, you're just kind of hoping that none of the players, you know, get COVID or come into contact with someone that has it.
Yeah.
Looks like a good plus with this one is that Morelos is not in the Colombian squad, so
correct.
He can, you know, stay. So that's one less thing to worry about, one less important player to worry about. I mean, on paper it should, because I think we're going to an actual break, still top of the league. You know, I know it's a win against Hibs at home, but still a good win given the circumstances. You're just kind of hoping that the players just carry on their form into international football, get that experience at a higher level, and hopefully that can help to translate after break. But you know, I could say it's good and bad thing, but I'm just going to go with a boring answer that we'll just have to see at Hearts in a couple of weeks' time.
But my reason for asking that, Jim, is we come off the back of beating the team that were closest to us in the league. Steven Gerrard now, he said last week that after the international break would be a time when he would look to probably have maybe his strongest 11 available to him. However, you have to be aware that people are now going away to other countries to play for their country, which brings the whole COVID thing into question. I just wonder if Steven Gerrard would rather the Hearts game was next weekend as opposed to having to wait until all these guys go away and then come back unscathed before we play Hearts at Ibrox.
It's a catch-22 situation. You want to continue the form. You're winning
Absolutely.
Even though, again, I know we've already mentioned it, the form's not been the greatest, or performances haven't been the greatest, but we've been winning.
Yeah.
I think a game against Hearts, again, would probably be a game where be a bit scrappy, and I think it's a game we could win.
Yeah.
Most definitely. But I think it was 12. I think it's 12 players we've got away in international duty.
Something like that. Yep, you're absolutely right.
3 or 4 of them away to Africa, and I can see it being a point. Most of your starting 11 they're going to be in the international break. The international teams are, because you've got Lundstrom, you've got McGregor, you've got a couple of other players there, and they're actually regulars for the international teams. But hopefully, there's a chance to get some players a bit
David,
at rest, and we need to get a bit of form there coming back.
David, I think from my perspective, I'm really on the fence with this one. I mean, I really am. I can't decide if I would rather we continue to pick up that, hopefully, the consistency from the Hibs game by having another game straight off the bat. We obviously don't have that, and now we need to hope that players come back, without any injuries or without any obvious nasties that are COVID related. What say you? What do you reckon?
So I'm a little bit like you. You could quite easily make arguments either way. I think, where we're at wise, okay, we had a good second half against Hibs.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't get too carried away with that. It is only one half, and we have done that at other points in the season.
Yeah.
So I think normally for me, I would actually say that this is a good point for us to have a break, purely for the fact that it lets, the players get a bit more game time if they're away with their national teams, or a bit more time working on the training pitch and tactics, etc. My one concern is obviously where we are as a world at the minute with COVID. We saw how disruptive it can be in the last round of international fixtures, and my worry is it's all well and good these players going out with their teams and getting time, but if they then come back or injured, or in fact don't come back because they're in COVID quarantine, we could potentially be in a worse place. So I think overall, I would say it probably is a good time, but with some reservations.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, thanks for coming on again this week. You'll be back before you know it, my friend. Well done. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Dylan, always good to see you, my friend. And you were here for the duration as well this week, which was very, very good. Thanks for coming back on.
Yeah, lessons well learned. Not to have a dodgy takeaway before a podcast recording. So lessons learned there, but been a pleasure as always, mate.
Well done, good man. And David, before I let you go, I'm keen for you to let all our listeners and viewers know a wee sneaky insight into In the Dugout.
In the Dugout. Well, the lads had me on. It was interesting. I got slagged for being old. It was. Do you know what? It was a really good laugh, and actually, it was quite nice, if I'm being honest, to sit and think about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Trip
maybe
down memory lane.
Don't think of every day. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So no, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone else's as well, to be fair.
So for anyone looking in and listening, Craig Dennett and Kyle McLean are rolling out a new series called In the Dugout. So everyone on this Ibrox team, I think in the first instance, will be given the opportunity to go through the same questions, I'm sure it is, David. I think everyone gets the same sort of raft of questions. Although I hope they don't ask me about a plant, because if they ask me about a plant, I've got a real issue. But everyone will have the chance to sort of participate, and I think it will be something we'll look to roll out to maybe some other special guests that Craig and Kyle probably don't know about yet, which we will probably keep on up our sleeves for the moment. One last thing that I would like to say, I have to give my best wishes to Ross McGill from the Union Bears. Not someone I know, but I know he's someone who has stepped down from the Union Bears I assume pursue other opportunities. The atmosphere at Ibrox is largely down to what these guys are doing down in that corner. So we wish Ross all the best in the first instance and congratulate him on his work. in particular, that fantastic fire show up beside the Clyde in May, which I don't think any of us will ever forget. We should say that all of our content is available across at www.thiscyberox.co.uk, all free, not a penny, thank you very much. And you can jump on there, you can look at us on YouTube, Stitcher, Acast, all the obvious places, wherever you get your podcasts, we're all there. And we urge you to join, subscribe, listen to us, and leave some pleasant comments. Try to be nice. We will do it all again, probably after the international break. We'll do a review up to the Hearts game. And I've got the envious task of working out who's going on and when. So I'm really looking forward to that, as you can probably tell. Thanks for watching again, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.